Tom, magazines, the currency of the future, the coming recession, stock market collapse, society is gone, dogs and cats living together, whatever. I have some magazines. Am I gonna be able to use them to pay off my mortgage?
I mean, so before we went live, of course, I was relaying the story of a friend who did just that. He right before Sandy Hook, he bought a pallet of Magpul, and I don't know what that prices were. Probably $3-4 a pop, maybe $5 high end. This was 10 years
especially
ago,
buying in bulk,
right? And then, as we recall, AR-15 mags went to $100+ each. So as the story is relayed to me, sold it all, paid off his mortgage.
And I think magazines are going to be one of those things that will constantly be in flux. Every time we get a new, I almost said regime, we don't want to call it that, a new administration, and people start talking about banning high-capacity magazines or banning firearms or making ammo harder to get or something like that. I'm not afraid to say, yes, I have a bunch of magazines still unwrapped. From the last time that prices started to go up, I was like, I'm going to buy them now before this happens. And not a pallet, but certainly enough for me, for my personal use, let's call it that. But we're looking at economic uncertainty. We're looking at legislative uncertainty. And people are buying things. There's panic buying in the firearms community all the time. And if there's something that you were going to buy, would it be magazines? Would it be AR-15 accessories or parts or lowers or something like that? What should we be looking at in the future? If you could look into Tom's crystal ball, what are the things that are going to be on the block? What's going to be the things that people should get a hold of before the prices go up?
Okay, so no pressure. And what I want you to do is I want you to picture a Punnett square, right? So make a square, and then I want you to put personal use for sale, right? And then it's going to be banned, or it's just going to be economically banned, i.e. prices are going to just surge on it.
Yeah, they're going to go so high that they're effectively out of reach.
It's legal, but it's going to be out of reach for many folks, right? I want you to imagine those categories. The reason why we have to distinguish between personal use versus other is because, of course, it is illegal to purchase certain items, for instance, firearms, for the purposes of resale and to make a profit, unless you have a license, right? So be mindful, check out what the laws are wherever you are, make sure you stay on the right side of things, or suffer ye consequences, I suppose.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that are reasonably cyclical. Ammo prices, AR-15s, AKs for that matter too, as well as magazines that are typically basically things that are targeted for bans, that, and as well as ammo prices.
They suddenly become popular.
Yes,
and people want them.
They suddenly become popular. Now, I do think that we're not in the same world in 2023 as we were back 10 years ago. For the simple fact of the matter is that I feel like a lot of the people who maybe were on the fence or in the potential market for getting AR-15s or for getting a Glock 19, wherever the case may be, right? If all of those discussions about we're going to ban everything didn't wake you up and knock you off the fence and into the market to purchase, if 2020 didn't knock you off the fence and get you into the market to purchase, I'm not sure what will at this point. Now, there's obviously always more people entering the market just because people are being born, they're growing up, all that kind of stuff. So there's always more people entering the market. We're going to see cyclical prices. We're going to see surges and things go up and down. Barring an outright ban, I don't think we're going to see the kind of crazy prices of, AR-15 mags going from $5, $6, $7 street price to $100+. Barring a ban, I don't think we're going to see something like that.
Quick pause here to remind you that we have a super secret giveaway going on right now. It's absolutely free. Just click the link in the description down below to find out what you could win. Now back to the video. I saw prices skyrocket back in the early 90s, during the Clinton assault weapons ban. Those went high, and then all magazines had to be marked as law enforcement use only or pre-ban or post-ban. All of that other crap was happening. And as we're facing changes, we've seen a lot of different court decisions that seem to come down on in favor of gun owners and allowing gun owners, and again, I hate to use that word, reinforcing that we have rights. That's probably the better term. But none of those court decisions have just been a blanket and made it easier for gun owners. Now, I like to think that they have sparked anti-gun forces to fight even harder, and we're seeing lots of that stuff going on now. But at this time, ammo is genuinely or relatively available and not wildly overpriced anymore. Magazines, even what we would call, or what the opponents would call, high-capacity magazines, are available and not quite overpriced. Is now the time to start buying some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, to my eyes, I'm going to date myself, but I remember buying those 250 round boxes of 9mm or something, and if it was over like $8, it's too rich for my blood, right? Like I'm going to wait for those to hit $5 or something like that. So, someone in the comment field's typing in, "Okay, boomer." I can feel it right now, But yeah, I mean, so to my eyes, which is accustomed to like, a couple cents per shot 9mm and maybe add a little bit more to that to get to 5.56, it's a little eye-watering to see, hey, 9mm drop below, a quarter a shot, time to load up, right? But this isn't 2005 anymore or whatever else. We have to adjust to the world that we are in. My kids keep telling me. So yes, absolutely. I have certain price thresholds. So I have certain ammunition in particular, if we're going to talk about ammunition, I have certain ammunition purchasing habits that I abide by. I don't do this all the time anymore, but I used to have some strict rules. So for instance, if I walked into a gun store, I have a particular type of 22 long rifle ammunition that I just like. I like the Federal stuff.
Yeah. If it works good in your gun.
If it works good in my gun, the Federal stuff works well in all my firearms that shoot 22. So I just had a rule. Whenever I walked into a store, I'd just buy a box of like the 525 round boxes. They were at the time like a couple bucks. And I'll just buy one. And I just have like this brick in the basement of all these. Same thing, I'll put certain price thresholds on 9mm and like my pet ammo and all that kind of stuff. I used to reload back when I had time. I don't have time for that anymore. I got too many kids and all that kind of stuff. But I used to reload. But yeah, if I see ammo drop below a certain threshold, I'll buy some. Mm-hmm. And, that way, if God forbid something happens, I just kind of make it a passive activity that I do. I'll just, every so often, I'll check in on prices. Oh, it's below X, I'm going to buy a little more. Oh, it's below X, I'll buy a little more. And that way you're kind of stocked up against things. Now, I was going to say the reason as well, I was talking about personal use versus kind of for resale. I may buy things I have no interest in personally, provided for resale, provided it is lawful to do so and I'm getting a good price, right? Yeah. And that doesn't have to be firearm related. That could be whatever, right? Particularly a long time ago when I was a student and like, this is how I ate. So, but more so these days for personal use, if you have a particular concealed carry firearm that you just absolutely love, okay, I would absolutely make sure you've got a minimum of 10 magazines for that thing. Yeah. Minimum of 10. Right?
And now's the time to get them.
And now's the time to get them because while ammunition prices are still eye-watering to me because my head's still like 20 years ago, mag prices, we have not seen nearly the same elevator ride of inflation on mag prices as we have seen. I mean, it's absolutely been there, but it hasn't been 25x or 20x or 10x. The same mags 15 years ago you could buy for like $20. Now they're like 30 or 40, right? Yeah. Whereas the ammunition that was 1 or 2 cents a shot now is like 25 to 50 cents a shot now. So, mags look like a comparable bargain to my elder millennial, but the kids call me a boomer still. Yeah. Eyes.
And we never know what's going to happen. You mentioned 2020, and when people talk about 2020 and firearms, I think of the images from California where people were outside the gun shops lined up around the corner and down the street and down the block waiting to get in to buy the guns that they wanted to have. And then they were upset to find out that California's strict gun laws didn't allow them to buy guns on the spot. They're like, what do you mean I can't have a gun? Well, you voted for this. Don't you remember that?
Right. 30-day waiting period or something.
Whatever crazy laws they had. People would walk into the gun shop. I need a gun right now. Things are going bad. Well, fill out this form, do this paperwork, wait your turn, and maybe you'll get a gun someday. And people hated that. So now might be the time. There's concern on what might come in the future out there on the horizon. but still things are relatively available, relatively inexpensive, comparatively speaking. And I'm thinking that things like AR-15 magazines, or even if you want to get AR-15 accessories, if you want to get the forward hand grip or you know, an M-lock front, you know, maybe go ahead and get those before things get wildly out of control and the prices go way back up again. And if you do it right and you get lucky, maybe like your friend, you can, you know, sell them later on and pay off your house.
Yeah. There's not too many hobbies where, unfortunately, you know, depending upon where you are in the buying cycle, that can be either great or bad. I mean, it's all bad because let's face it, we would all prefer to have a permanent available supply of all these things that are cheap.
Right.
Like that's the dream scenario. I suppose if we can't have that and if we're gonna have wild price cycles and escalation, then the next best thing is we're buying low and we're selling high, provided we're doing so within the law.
Yeah, and even though when we're doing that, it's because folks are trying to infringe upon our rights.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again for your insight, Tom. Always great talking with you about guns. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin.
Before you go, you just missed one of our best videos that got over 500,000 views. Click right here to watch it now.